Welcome to the podcast series Talking Success, connecting the global FinTech community. I'm Catherine Brassell, and today I'm once again joined in the UK by Sam O'Connor, who is the co-founder and CEO at Coconut. Coconut is a tax app for freelancers and self-employed individuals that really just connects them to their bank, helps them track income, claim expenses, and work out how much tax they actually owe. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today, and we're very excited to hear a bit more about what you guys are doing at Coconut. How's your week been so far?
Well, thanks very much for having me. My week has been exciting. We started a building project on our house this morning, so I'm hopeful that you won't be disturbed by the rumbling of pneumatic drills, but let's crack on and see whether that's going to impact us.
No, that's all good. And we're just very excited to just hear a bit more about your personal career journey, kind of what led you to the startup space and ultimately, with Coconut.
Sure. Well, I started my career at PwC, where I trained as an accountant. I'm a chartered accountant, and it's quite fun starting out as an accountant. It's a bit like university. You're all together with about 40 other people who are doing the exams and getting trained. But that in total takes about 3 years. And I ended up doing that for about 3.5 years before getting the entrepreneurial itch and starting my first tech business, which was a business that connected up banks with accounting firms to share year-end audit information. And so that's really where I started out. I didn't really know much about tech when I started that business. And now I know a lot more than I did then, but still learning every day.
No, that's great. And so what really attracted you to the startup space?
I've started businesses all my life, and it really kicked off when I was younger. I started cleaning for my mum to earn a bit of extra cash, and then ended up becoming a cleaner for a lot of her friends and cleaning their houses. And then in the end, I started a cleaning business with a friend of mine called Clean Conscience, which was focused on environmentally friendly cleaning products. And it didn't really go anywhere, but it was a first foray into entrepreneurship. And then we had another few businesses together, which were really fun. But ultimately, that all stopped when I went to university.
Okay.
And so after qualifying as an accountant, I thought actually I'd like to do something entrepreneurial, and tech, and specifically FinTech, was something that was quite exciting. So that was the direction I went in.
Okay. And, let's talk a little bit more about Coconut as a company. What were sort of the principles that Coconut was founded on? And more specifically, who were your target audience with the app?
Sure. So Coconut is a tax app for freelancers. And the idea came because after I sold my last business, I worked with the company that acquired us called Confirmation for 2 years and really honed my skills in sales and marketing there. But after a couple of years, wanted to start another business. And so I left Confirmation, where I was heading up their UK office, to become self-employed while I figured out what to do next. And that was really where I had the eureka moment. Because what I found was cloud accounting software like Xero and QuickBooks and those products were all quite dated in the way that you interact with them, but also targeted at bigger businesses, and so have a lot more functionality than you need. And the way that the user experience works is very clunky for the relatively straightforward needs of self-employed people. And so bringing my banking, accounting, FinTech experience to bear, started Coconut along with my former co-founder as well, Adam, who I've worked with since PwC. And what we set out to do is really tap into the fact that self-employment is a huge and growing trend around the world, and that's only been accelerated by COVID, and provide a product that takes away that tax and that finance burden,
Yes.
which is really not going to add any value to the work that self-employed people do or earn them any money, but does need to be taken care of. And that's really where the idea came from.
No, that's great. And I mean, kind of going back to COVID, I'm sure there were some really big decisions that yourself and the team had to kind of make during COVID. Kind of what were they and how have they actually shaped the business?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting 18 months for us. And I actually shared a LinkedIn post the other day that called out that we, at the beginning of this year, made quite a sizable pivot. And as a founder, it was an interesting process to go through because it felt at the time like we were just refining our business model, but actually the level of change that we've made to our business in terms of our strategy, in terms of our culture, I would definitely categorize as a pivot. But to talk you through what we've done there, when we started Coconut, we found that actually it was really challenging for freelancers and self-employed people to open new current accounts. And the goal was really to get a good stream of transaction data, categorize it for tax, and try and automate the flow of data from a transaction to your tax return. And to do that, we felt that we needed to give people the opportunity to open a new current account as part of that service. And so that's how we started. We enabled self-employed people to open current accounts, and then we built accounting and tax software on top of that gives them all of the tools they need, including invoicing, expenses, tax advice, monthly P&L, tax returns, reports. And that worked really well for a while, but actually what we found at the end of last year was that we weren't driving enough into that financial management and tax problem, or we definitely weren't driving in as much as we wanted to because we were servicing current accounts as well. And so we had already built our open banking functionality. And for those that don't know what open banking is, the UK and the EU government have said, right, all banks need to provide transaction data to third-party providers through standardized APIs. And it's one of the most monumental shifts in the financial system for probably decades or a century. And we'd built the technology that meant we could allow customers to connect up their bank accounts with Coconut. And so we just decided that that was going to be the main source of transaction data for us. The second change that we made was we removed our free tier and started charging people a monthly fee. And the third change that we made was we stopped working so much. In fact, we've stopped building products for limited companies, and we focused only in on people who are doing side hustles or have non-incorporated businesses, which to us are the least well-served group.
Yeah, the freelancers and the sole traders, as you mentioned. Just a curious question, where did the name Coconut come from?
The name Coconut is an interesting one. There's a story behind it, but we used to have a different name, which we don't really mention anymore. But another rather large FinTech company changed their name to something that was very similar, and so we always wanted to get a name that was closely associated with the sentiment that freelancers have when they're running their business. And actually, when we talked to freelancers, we found that there was an aspiration to work from anywhere, like a beach in Bali or Mexico, and not have the stresses and strains that come from a traditional job or financial worries. And so Coconut seemed like a reflection of that aspiration.
No, that's awesome. I'll definitely make that association now. So on the slightly, less positive side, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've kind of had to face and overcome kind of in the startup space, would you say?
Well, I think that the COVID lockdown was a sizable challenge for everyone, particularly for our customer base. So self-employed people were the first people to be impacted by COVID and those lockdowns. And that was particularly because people stopped traveling. So Uber drivers, for instance, didn't have any work. If you were a creative, like a designer or a marketeer on a project, they were typically the first people to lose their work. And there were lots of other instances where freelancers were kind of seen as almost contingent to the core business, so they were the first people to go. But and that presented a big challenge for our audience and our community. And so we responded to that by essentially stopping what we were doing, and we started a campaign called the Self-Employed Income Support Campaign, and it was really trying to bring the voices of self-employed people to the government, to those that were making decisions around how they were going to support our customers, and making sure that we had a loud megaphone holding politicians' feet to the fire. And I like to think that we had a good impact on bringing people together, but also an impact on what support was available collectively with everyone else who is doing that as well. And that was a big challenge specifically, but I think there are always other challenges as well. And, one of the major things that you want to achieve is to build a kind of transformative product for your customers. And so that's another focus of ours, and something that we spend a lot of time interviewing customers, understanding what their problems are, and then trying to turn that into product features that fundamentally transform how they can manage finances, and as a consequence take that off their plate so they can just get on with what they really want to achieve, which is working with amazing clients, doing fantastic work, and really kind of driving their career forward.
And I would imagine, as many sort of freelancers that may have been displaced with COVID, probably a lot of, come up as well in terms of people losing, jobs and having, like you said, to side hustle and create their, manage their own incomes and generate it in a different way. So I would imagine that it's kind of been a mixture of, like you say, people losing a lot of jobs, but at the same time, a lot of people having to start their own small companies. There's
been a really polarized impact, I think, and there's a bit of stuff in the middle. I mentioned that a lot of people lost work. So the Resolution Foundation did a piece of research that showed that there were 700,000 self-employed people out of work by the third lockdown last year. And that's a huge portion of the community, 20%. Now, that was the worst case. And there were also people who, probably lost a little bit of work, or their workload didn't actually change. But on the other hand, there were people who really got a lot of work out of the situation, whether they were, science writers, copywriters, or the fact that lots of businesses had moved to a remote model where everyone was remote and it didn't really matter that a freelance was remote, really opened up opportunities for freelancers anywhere in the world. And it's technology that's facilitated that. And I think that we will continue to see the positive outcome from that shift to remote, that comfortableness with working with people we've never met face to face. And that opens a lot of opportunities. But at the same time, that also increases competition. And so I think there's a slight nervousness as well that the biggest problem that freelancers face is getting work, right? That's the top of their to-do list. Forming good relationships with clients, finding new clients, and making sure that they've got a solid stream of income. And so that's always going to be the priority. what we're seeing is technology like Coconut, like other types of platforms that are focused on, whether it's insurance or making sure people have sick pay and those kind of things, are all part of that ecosystem and facilitating the operational back end of becoming a freelancer so that you can compete in this globalized and competitive market. I think there was one other thing that I thought I'd draw on as well, which we've seen, and that's something that was prominent as well in 2008 in the financial crash. Strangely, it would seem people use opportunities like this to start a business that they had been wanting to start, or had an idea that they'd been sitting on. And that's one of the outcomes of a big upheaval. I think people realize, actually, maybe there is something more exciting that I can do. Maybe I can actually take control of my working life. Maybe I will use this opportunity, whether I'm furloughed or, perhaps in the worst case, I've been made redundant, but perhaps not at all. It's just a trigger for starting to build a business that you'd always wanted to do.
That's a good point. To sort of challenge the status quo a bit. And let us know, what are you and what is Coconut's got on the cards for 2022, and what can listeners expect to see?
Yeah, so 2021 for us has been delivering on our promise to allow any freelancer to, download our product, connect up their bank accounts, their credit cards, their business account, have a really easy way of gathering up all of their information, seeing their tax estimate, and ultimately having a really easy time on the finances and the tax when it comes to their freelance business. And that's been a roaring success. So we converted 75% of our base to paying customers.
Amazing.
They've been very, very receptive to the new features that we've been building, and that's been super exciting. And what's coming up in 2022 is that over the next 24 months is a big regulatory shift that will be implemented over the next 24 months. And that is the requirement from our Revenue and Customs Office over here, HMRC, for self-employed people and freelancers to start submitting 4 tax summaries each year, plus a tax return. And what's more, they're going to have to use a digital product to do that. And so we're preparing everyone for that change. We're committed to making sure that our customers don't even have to worry about it. It'll almost be just part of the background. But it is a very exciting shift for us, because we are big believers in the power of digital products like Coconut to help freelancers grow their business, manage their business, and just ultimately compete in a kind of globalized freelance market. But also, once this new regulation comes in, they'll be ready to make the most of that, and it won't be a burden for them.
And obviously you're dealing, you're based in the UK and you're dealing with obviously the UK tax system. Are there any kind of ambitions or anything on the cards in terms of having the product available to people that are outside of the UK?
So we work specifically with non-incorporated businesses and with accountants. And accountants are another interesting area of growth for us. So accountants are looking for a partner to manage their non-incorporated businesses, or accountants call them sole traders over here. And so both of those two groups of people exist in any country around the world. They all have the same challenges around sending invoices, getting paid, categorizing expenses, collecting receipts, checking in on their clients if you're an accountant, making sure that they submit the tax, making sure that they're up to date with all the timelines. And so for now, we're focused on delivering on the Making Tax Digital shift that's happening in the UK. But as soon as that's done, there's nothing that's going to stop us from going internationally, because ultimately this shift in the workforce is an international change.
Well, that's exciting, and we'll definitely be kind of watching Coconut and sort of seeing. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of success in the new year. Let us know if any of our listeners would like to get hold of you. What is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Best way to get in touch is either come to getcoconut.com if you're a sole trader, a self-employed or freelancer, or if you're an accountant, go to getcoconut.com/accountants. Otherwise, there's a chat on our website or in our app, and you can get directly through to our support team, and if you really want to, anyone on our team through that route.
Thanks so much, Sam, and all the best.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode, Talking Success, Connecting the Global FinTech Community. Please follow us on LinkedIn under Talent in the Cloud, or if you're interested in exec talent, expanding your FinTech team, or you yourself are looking for an exciting change in your career, please check out our website, talentinthecloud.io.